Good evening. I'm Sean Roman, pinch hitting for Nisa Petrilli.
I'm Jay Kaplan.
I'm Steve Ferguson.
And I'm Anthony Strait.
And this is On the Sports Lines for January 21st, 2016. And then there were four. The top two seeds in both the AFC and NFC will meet in the conference championship games this Sunday. And we will tell you what each team needs to do to make it to Super Bowl 50. We'll also give you our thoughts on the Giants' new head coach and three of the finalists for this year's Pro Football Hall of Fame class. As always, we would love to hear from you, so email us at fanspeak@onthesportslines.com, send your tweets to @onthesportslines, and your posts to facebook.com/onthesportslines. Here we go again. For the 17th time overall and 5th time in the playoffs, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning will face off as the Denver Broncos host the New England Patriots in the AFC title game. While the spotlight will be on the future Hall of Fame quarterbacks, there's more to this matchup. Our guys will tell you what each team must do to reach the Super Bowl. Jay, what's the one thing you think the Patriots have to do to get past the Broncos in Denver?
It's this simple. Get Julian Edelman the ball, especially on third down. Now, everybody knows that Tom Brady is the star and that Rob Gronkowski is the matchup nightmare for defenses, but Julian Edelman is the engine that makes the Patriots offense run at elite levels. He had 61 catches in the 9 games he played before he got hurt. Patriots were 9-0 and converted 50% on third down. In the 7 games he missed, the Patriots were 3-4 and converted only 29% on third down. In the win over the Chiefs, Edelman was targeted by Brady 16 times, 10 catches, 100 yards. Patriots converted 6 of 12 on third down. What's that percentage, guys? 50%. Edelman moves the change for the Patriots, gives Brady and the offense an extra dimension they were obviously missing during his absence. Get the man the ball.
Absolutely.
Steve, what do you got?
Well, I have the Patriots running game, which we know had, for the most part, has been almost non-existent after they lost Lewis early in the year. Blunt is about the only guy you can really count on for any sort of running game. And yeah, Brady can throw the ball 50 times, and we know how reliable and efficient he is when he has the offensive line to work with. But you can't do that against a team like Denver because their defense is so good. So they're going to have to figure out some way to run the ball.
Anthony,
Did you ever think in your wildest imagination that letting Peyton Manning throw the ball would probably be the best way to beat the Denver Broncos? But that is exactly what has happened. It's come down to it. The Denver Broncos, under Gary Kubiak, has become a run-first football team.
Yep.
And when you look at Peyton Manning, and I don't know if you saw it last week, those passes was just flutter balls, just like knucklers. I don't know if it was to win. It was a windy game day, by the way, in Denver. But
well, some critics have suggested starting Osweiler. What do you think?
yeah, but here's the thing,
that's not going to happen.
No.
What Bill Belichick does is take away your best strength, better than any coach in the National Football League.
Yes, he does.
What New England's going to do is stack the box. 8-man. Let's see if Peyton Manning, the old gunslinger, has one more chill of glory in that pop pistol for an arm of his now. And let's just say, I will take my chances. Let Peyton Manning throw the ball 30, 40 times. Let's see if he still got it in him. I don't think so, personally, after what I saw against the Steelers. Because, and by the way, his receivers did not help give him any help whatsoever.
10 drops in that
10
game.
drop passes. But here's the thing, though. If you're Bill Belichick, C.J. Anderson ripped you for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in that November 29th game. I say you take him away, stack the line of scrimmage. Let's see if Peyton Manning can beat us. Let's see if the Peyton Manning, the Hall of Famer, shows up, and not Peyton Manning, the game manager.
Well, you know, like in the past couple of years, Jay, and probably Nisa would remember this, I've been pretty harsh on Peyton Manning.
Yes, you have.
In terms of the matchups with Tom Brady, because Brady has always been able to win the big games, and I've said that Peyton hasn't come up in the big games. But this year, since he's so old and, you know, the horizons pretty close to Peyton, I'm rooting for Peyton. I mean, I almost feel sympathy and empathy for him. Like, all right, Jay, what is the one thing the Broncos are going to have to do to win this thing?
Well, believe it or not, Peyton Manning actually has to be a game manager and not try and win this all by himself. Peyton reminds me, I'll use the baseball analogy, and Steve will appreciate this, of a guy who spent most of his career throwing 100 miles an hour and striking everybody out. Now, all of a sudden, in his dotage, he has to figure out how to get guys out with off-speed stuff and locating his pitches. What's the football translation of that? He has to be a game manager, play mistake-free football. 17 interceptions this season, number 2 in the NFL, despite missing 6 games. Okay, but here's the flip side of this. Since he's returned, 0 interceptions in 46 attempts, which is the best stretch he's had at any point during this season. Steelers linebacker James Harrison put this best coming out of the Steelers-Broncos game. Manning Gay got them into some checks based on what we were doing, and they were able to hit us in some of the blitzes we went in and out of. It's just an above-the-net game. He's seen it all, heard it all. He was able to go out there, do what was necessary for his team to win, and that's what he has to do against the Patriots. Use the best weapon he now has. That's his head.
All right, Jay never gives me an answer, so for you two guys, after you give your analysis, give a prediction too, just for fun. This is the marquee game.
You know, for me, I've got to say they have to win the game with their defense, Denver. And I never thought I'd say that because we all remember Peyton Manning 3 or 4 years ago, the gunslinger who could throw the ball 50 times, throw a ton of touchdowns, and was accurate as anybody. Now, Denver's defense, which has been superb this year, really has to step up because we don't really know what we're going to see from Peyton Manning. We don't know if we'll see one last Tom Seaver fastball or if we're going to see, you know, the Greg Maddux.
What's the defense going to do, Steve?
They have to find a way to get to Brady.
All right.
That's what they have to do.
By the way, you know what? That's exactly my next point. And that's
Cool.
And here's the thing is though, when it's not about sacking Tom Brady as much as it's just simply making him uncomfortable. When you look at all the past playoff losses for the New England Patriots, Super Bowls included, where is Tom Brady most uncomfortable? Getting right in his face, right up the middle.
Yep.
You have Von Miller. You got
DeMarcus
Ware on the outside edge. Here's the problem. If you do that, you run out your rush lanes, Tom Brady's just going to step up in the pocket, and if you're blitzing on the edge, by the way, you got all these receivers. Last week, talking about Kansas City, Justin Houston was out of the game after, 8 snaps, and he just picked them apart.
The Carolina Panthers and the Arizona Cardinals were far and away the NFC's best teams this season. So a meeting in the NFC title game is not that much of a surprise. We're going to take a look at both teams and tell you the one thing each must do to advance to the Super Bowl. Anthony, what is the one thing the Cardinals are going to have to do to win this game?
You know what? I watched Carolina-Seattle game, and that's secondary suspects. If I'm Bruce Arians, I say let's spread these guys out, 4 or 5 receiver sets, at least attack this weakened secondary. They have Charles Simmons is out. Ben Wickery, he's out. You have 2 guys who just have not, who wasn't even on the team a month ago, Robert McClain, and also, you have a practice guy as well. You got a couple of guys that, is in the secondary. But Seattle last week, for their troubles, missed a lot of big plays downfield.
Yes, they did.
They missed a ton. With Carson Palmer, if he could get time, he has Larry Fitzgerald, you got Josh Brown, you got Michael Floyd, you got guys who can really, really stretch this defense out. And Carson Palmer's already said it. Let's be aggressive. I say they take their shots downfield, and I say they really exploit those safeties because the safeties are not that good in terms of coverage.
Jay?
Well, I gotta look at the flip side of it. The Cardinals' defense has to shut down the number 2 rushing attack in the NFL. Panthers, the number 1 NFL scoring offense, largely because of a multi-dimensional rushing attack. Piled up almost 2,300 yards. Jonathan Stewart, 106 yards, 2 TDs against the Seahawks. They were the number 1 rushing defense in the NFL. Guys like Mike Tolbert, the 2 of them in traditional 2-back sets, or they go design runs, read option for Newton, and everything in between. Cardinals have the number 6 run defense, but they've given up 381 yards on the ground in the last 3 games, and they're going against a team that has a 30-game streak of topping 100 yards. Here's the thing. If the Cardinals can shut down the rushing attack and make the Panthers a more pass-focused team. It plays to the Cardinals' advantage, allowing them to unleash their blitz packages. Opponents had 86 pass attempts in 3rd and 7 or longer, completed only 51%, were sacked 15 times. Opponents only converted 3rd down in those situations 24% of the time. If you can put the Panthers in 3rd and 7 or longer, advantage Cardinals.
Steve, wrap it up for us on this.
Well, to add to your point, Jay, you've got to make Cam Newton basically be a passer. And the best way to do it, you're going to have to figure out whether you can come after him on the blitz or whether you can basically surround him with defenders and make a decision that's going to impact the game. And that's the question with Cam Newton. As great a runner as he is and quarterback, you also have to wonder, can he do as well if he has to look at his 2nd, 3rd, and 4th reads and how quickly he'll be able to do that. So I think as he's been Superman as far as I'm concerned at quarterback, but if the Cardinals can figure out a way to get to him, I think that will be interesting to see how it turns out.
All right, let's look at it from the flip side now. The Panthers and what they have to do to win. Anthony, we'll start off with you once again.
They simply just need to keep the foot on the gas pedal. Stay aggressive.
Yes.
Like, was that the most vanilla play call in the second half when you're up 31-0? By the way, game's not over.
No.
That's number
What
one.
do you think it was?
But
I mean, they did that with the Giants, too.
I was just
And
about
it
to get to that
almost
point.
cost them.
4 times this season.
Giants would have won that game. They
4
could've been in
times
the
this
playoffs.
season.
They had the
17-point lead blown to the Colts. A 23-point lead blown to Green Bay. They won all of them now. Every time you missed the Giant game. And last week, for whatever reason, they just go so simplistic and so, so vanilla and conservative with the play call. Even on
conservative.
defense.
Yeah.
Too conservative.
Yeah.
Seahawks would have scored at the end of that half. Different dynamic.
Yeah, you were talking about
Very
that
much
too.
so.
Had they gone for the field goal instead of the failed 4th down, the main field goal, that's 6 points that Seattle left off the scoreboard. That could have made a big difference.
Yeah.
Carolina
I like
just
your
need,
point.
yeah, Carolina
That's a
just
great
need to
point.
stay aggressive. If you got a big lead, keep adding on. The game is never over. And I know they like to have fun, but this is the playoffs. You do not want to join the Houston Oilers until it's a big choke job.
Jay, what do you got?
Me, I think the key for the Panthers is going to be how they handle the Cardinals blitz. Now, Newton's come a long way since a Week 5 2013 loss to the Cardinals where he threw 3 picks, lost a fumble, sacked 7 times, and each one of those plays happened against the blitz. He is seeing blitzes a lot better, and he's making smarter decisions, and it comes to this. This season, he led all quarterbacks in touchdown passes against the blitz with 19, had career best in completion percentage, almost 60, quarterback rating, 80, fewest interceptions, only 3 picks against the blitz this year. Only 6.7% of his dropbacks against the blitz resulted in a sack. And this is what makes this even more impressive. He's the 2nd most blitzed quarterback in the NFL, 37.8%. The Seahawks only blitzed Newton 13% of the time. On his dropbacks, he completed 72% of his passes. The Cardinals lead the NFL in most times sending an extra rusher, 45% of their pass plays. Far and away number 1. How well Cam Newton and the Panthers handle the Arizona blitz is going to go a long way to determining if they win.
We are going to wrap up our championship and game analysis with you.
Thank you. Well, you know what? In Carson Palmer, for those of us who've seen him from his days at USC, as
which
Jay
you
and I
both
have,
yes.
he is phenomenal when he has time to throw. He is probably as accurate, I'm going to say it, as good as Brady or Manning in their prime when he has time to throw. But when you get people in his face, that's when he has problems. And if you remember that play where he got the touchdown on the deflections ball that he threw and almost was picked off, I watched that. I said, yeah, Carson, you're going to have to move out of the pocket and make more plays. You can't stand back there.
And he's not comfortable doing that.
No, he doesn't like moving around. So if the Panthers can figure a way to come after him, whether it's blitzing him or coming at him in different ways, I think he may have some trouble in this game.
The New York Giants elected to promote from within to replace Tom Coughlin as the head coach. And offensive coordinator Ben McAdoo was the choice. McAdoo has no head coaching experience and is scrambling to assemble a staff as a number of the assistant coaches from Coughlin's staff are leaving. Now, I got a question for you, Steve. McAdoo or Macadone?
Well, I'm going to say McAdoo, and the reason I'm going to say it is because of Eli Manning. Eli Manning has played so well with this guy as his offensive coordinator and soon-to-be head coach. You remember the days where he threw the 25 interceptions a few years ago? That was before this guy came on the scene. Since he's been here, and granted they have Odell Beckham who makes every catch, every throw that he throws, he catches, but he's so comfortable spreading out the offense, throwing the ball downfield, mixing his plays. I believe this year he threw about 34 or 5 touchdowns.
34.
Which is really great. So in this case, with Eli Payton nearing the end of his career, I think that's another reason you have to go with McAdoo.
Anthony, what do you think about the coaching move?
I think it's a great move because it's continuity, it's familiarity among the players, and you could relate to this because you follow the Steelers. The Giants and the Steelers have one thing in common. They believe in continuity.
Yes.
They will promote from within. Like only a few exceptions. Dan Reeves, Jim Fossil, I can think of were guys that the Giants went outside the organization to bring in and hire. But you look at Ben McAdoo, he's going to keep Coughlin time. So basically 5 minutes early is on time. Majority of the coaching staff will be back. That includes Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, as well. But when you understand, when you bring in an outside head coach, he's going to bring in his own coaching staff. It's going to be totally different. And you have Eli, but you also have Odell Beckham Jr., who has excelled in this under Bill McAdoo as well. And you want to kind of keep the thing going. The Giants' problem is not coaching; it's talent, and that's what they need to bring in.
Jay, wrap it up.
To me, this is more of a curious move as opposed to right or wrong. Promoting from within is something the Giants have done in the past, but they've been very much hit or miss with it. Bill Parcells on the one hand, I give you Ray Handley on the other.
Oh, don't do that. No.
To me, it begs the question, what do they see when they look at McAdoo? Do they see what the Steelers saw in Mike Tomlin, another assistant with no prior head coaching experience, who during his interview had the team believing this is the guy for the job? Or do they see an offensive coordinator with potential who is being sought after by other teams, so they panicked and they wanted to keep him for fear of losing him? Now, John Mara has said that he feels very good about this decision, and the Giants' ownership, like the Steelers, is known for their patience. McAdoo's going to be given every opportunity to do this job. He needs to hire the right assistants to fill out this staff, get the defensive leaders to buy into his way of doing things the way he has done with Eli, and the offensive leaders, he needs to work with Jerry Reese to fix this depleted roster, and with Steve Spagnuolo to fix one of the worst defenses in the NFL. That's his marching orders.
Well, I like the move because they essentially had an extended interview with having McAdoo there the last couple of years. The Giants know what they're getting as opposed to hiring from without. So I think it's the right move. Let's move on. The 15 modern era finalists for this year's Pro Football Hall of Fame class were announced on January 7th. The list of no more than 5 from the modern era who will make up part of this year's induction class will be announced on the eve of the Super Bowl. We think Brett Favre is a lock here at On the Sports Line. So these guys are going to make the case for 3 of the other finalists. Steve, who's your guy?
I'm going to go with a guy that I really liked when I saw him in his playing days from day one, and that's Terrell Davis.
Yes, running back from the Broncos.
I mean, when you think about Elway's career and how different it would have been without this guy, it's amazing because he was basically Robin to Elway's Batman. And this was a 6th-round pick because there were serious injuries he had during his college days. But I never saw anybody run as hard and direct as he did, and as fast. He averaged almost 6 yards a carry when he played for Denver. And if you look at some of the years this guy had, 1996, 1,538 yards, 13 touchdowns. The following year, 97, 1,750 yards, 15 touchdowns, Super Bowl MVP.
Give me the capper.
And 98, 2,008 yards, 21 touchdowns, NFL MVP, and Super Bowl champion. Yeah, he had a short career, 8 years, but you know what? The NFL is not about how long you play, it's how effectively and well you play.
Speaking of how long you play, you know what? I'm throwing a curveball, and I'm going T.O.
Oh, man.
Yes. Come on. All the shenanigans, the celebrations, the Nicholas Sheraton skit. We know about all these things, quarterback feuds, but his numbers do not lie. I mean, he's second all-time in career receiving yards, close to 1,600 yards, third all-time in career touchdowns. Look at the NFL records. I'm just going to read this out. The only player in NFL history to score a touchdown against all 32 teams. The only player in NFL history to have 2 or more touchdowns against all 32 NFL teams. Oldest player to have a touchdown reception of 98 more yards or more. Oldest player to have a touchdown reception of 78 yards or more. By the way, consecutive season with at least 5 or more touchdowns. 11, tied with Marvin Harrison, who's also the Hall of Fame ballot.
Right.
So my push of a T.O. in Canton, Ohio, Get the popcorn ready.
He made a good case right there,
Very
Jay.
good.
What do you got?
You know what? As you guys know, I'm quarterback-centric, so I'm going with Kurt Warner. Now, Warner was a latecomer to the NFL. Everybody knows the rags to riches story. And in essence, he had two careers, one with the Rams from 99 to 01 when he quarterbacked the greatest show on turf to a pair of Super Bowl trips, going 1-1. Then with the Arizona Cardinals, who he led to their first Super Bowl appearance ever. Now, if the voters focus on what he did the 6 years he was a legitimate QB1 as opposed to everything he did in an 11-year career, to me, Warner deserves Canton. 2 MVPs, 1 Super Bowl MVP, 4 Pro Bowls, top 3 in passing yards 3 times, completion percentage 4 times, top 3 in TD passes 3 times, top 3 in passer rating 4 times. To me, that's a Hall of Fame resume. The guy who is not on this list, but is also up for induction again, and I really hope that he gets in this time because I think he deserves it, is Kenny Stabler.
Oh,
He fell
yes.
short
Yes,
last
from the
year.
Rams, he does.
Hopefully this is the year that the veterans, the NFL's version of the Veterans Committee, gives him his due and inducts him.
That would
in.
be
What
It
if,
would be
what if
nice
Brett
posthumously.
Favre, what if
Would
Brett
be.
Favre is not a lock because of his off-the-field problems?
Let me tell you something. That's the whole
Hey.
point of being 5 years removed. Everybody steps back, looks at the totality of his career. That man is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
He is
may
for
not
me.
be unanimous, but he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I mean, I think the case for Kurt Warner is just as strong. They have an equal amount of Super Bowls. They were both there twice.
True, but I think Favre has more pages in the record book
Yeah.
overall. You know, so I mean, if you look at the resume,
It's
he's
like
a
he
lock.
said, it's about impact while you're there. In terms of that, I think they're on equal footing.
We'll see.
You know what?
I mean, the Rams were
You may
just
be
so
right.
close to that second
Well, they
Super
were
Bowl. The
phenomenal
Patriots
during that
knocked them
stretch.
off. Remember, they were big favorites.
Yeah.
I think 14-point favorites
Yeah,
or something
but I
like
just feel
that.
like
And Brian Cox led the defense
I
on the
just feel
field
like
1-0.
Brett Favre and Reggie White together really put the Green Bay Packers back on the map in the 90s. Absolutely.
They did.
Anthony, guess what? We get to go right back to you because you're going to lead us off with the 3-minute warning.
Oh, good. Can I, Billy? Thank you so much. I feel like I won. This week marked the 1-year anniversary of the most bizarre sports controversy in recent memory. That's right, I'm talking about Deflategate. Exactly 1 year ago this week, false reports and information leaked about how deflated footballs supposedly gave the Patriots, Tom Brady in particular, an edge in a 45-7 win over the Colts. Never mind that New England ran for 177 yards and the game was played in cold, rainy conditions. It was the Patriots, so of course they had to have done something. Either gas laws and PSI numbers be damned, Roger Goodell needed to make the NFL's evil empire pay. Fans demanded justice. It wasn't like their favorite teams were capable of beating the Patriots on the field where it counts. What followed were months of contradictory leaked info and a botched investigation that would have made Mr. Magoo look like Sherlock Holmes. Apparently, no one in the league office ever watched an episode of Bill Nye or dealt with a tire in cold weather. 1 year later, the Patriots are still good, fans are still mad, and Goodell is still a buffoon when it comes to player discipline. A toast to the biggest waste of taxpayer dollars ever.
Amen.
All right. Cardinals, Packers, and why we love the NFL playoffs. Tom Brady, Cam Newton, Carson Palmer, and Russell Wilson. MVP candidates for sure in 2015, but what about Aaron Rodgers? The miracle worker threw not 1, but 2 Hail Mary passes and connected. First, a 70-yard bomb to Richard Rodgers during the regular season to tie the game against the Lions and win in overtime. Then he did it again, stinging the Cardinals with a 41-yard bomb, shockingly forcing overtime in the playoffs. But the Cardinals had their own miracle finish when Carson Palmer fired a diagonal beauty of a pass to Larry Fitzgerald. 2 plays later, and the pack was done. Game, set, match. On paper, this game was supposed to be a Cardinals blowout, especially when they destroyed the Packers 3 weeks ago, 38-8. What we ended up with was a game that will go down as an NFL playoff classic.
Look up the word loyalty in the dictionary. One of the definitions you'll find is a strong feeling of support or allegiance. Remember that. We're going to get back to it. In my lifetime, I've seen the Colts sneak out of Baltimore in moving vans in the dead of night. The Browns leave Cleveland and all their history behind to replace the Colts in Baltimore. The Oilers abandon Houston for Nashville, and their name for Titans. Add to that, the Cardinals going from St. Louis to Phoenix, the Rams from LA to St. Louis and back again, and the Raiders from Oakland to LA and back again. Professional sports teams may have owners, but they come and go. The franchises are in essence a public trust, owned more so by the fans in the city. The owners are very good with the platitudes and playing to the emotions of the fan base. We have the best fans in the world! right up until they decide that the stadium deal they have no longer works for them. Then it becomes all about the Benjamins, and if the city doesn't show them the money, they either blackmail them into doing it or they rip out the hearts of the community and leave. Cleveland and Houston eventually became NFL cities again. Will St. Louis? Who knows, but if the integrity of the Shield means anything, the league owes it to them. Then again, the NFL and a lot of its owners have not done a very good job lately of engendering a strong feeling of support or allegiance.
Here is a story you may have missed on America's greatest and most overlooked athlete, Jim Thorpe. One branch of his family has been fighting another to have Jim's bones removed from Pennsylvania to Oklahoma, where Jim was born. Jim's children from his first wife, Iva, always preferred that he remain in March Chunk, Pennsylvania, where he was interred in 1953, while Jim's children from his second wife, Frida, want him moved. The dispute went all the way up to the United States Supreme Court, who recently refused to hear the appeal, leaving the decision of the Third Federal Circuit Court in Philadelphia that Jim's body should remain in Pennsylvania intact. Still, the petitioners to move the body will not let this matter go and are contemplating proposing legislation to move the remains. Like it or not, this case comes down to the fact that Jim also had a third wife when he died, Patricia, and the law vested in her the responsibility of burying Jim. Patricia decided that since Oklahoma at the time would not pay for any type of memorial at a time when the world really forgot about all Jim accomplished, which included fantastic gold medals, accomplishments in professional baseball and football, and a lot more if you look it up, she would bury him in a town in Pennsylvania that stepped up at the time and honored the exceptional Native American by naming the place after him and building him a dignified resting place. And it is fitting that the memorial is near to where Jim rose to national fame at the Carlisle Indian Industrial School, where Jim led an unknown entity to a national collegiate championship. For Jay Kaplan, Steve Ferguson, and Anthony Strait, I am Sean Roman, and thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us. We really hope to see you again on February 4th for our very special Super Bowl edition of On the Sports Lines. But remember, if you want to see this edition again or catch up on any of those you may have missed, please check us out at youtube.com/onthesportslines. And where's our blog, Jay?
onthesportslines.blogspot.com.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.